So now we are in the middle of Act 3. We know that Macbeth is not in a good way. He has hired someone to kill Banquo. He's seriously worried about Banquo and what he thinks of Macbeth at this point. He's fearful that, again, his friend is the only one that knows what has happened in the woods. But I think his main concern right now, Macbeth, is because he's so paranoid, is that he's done this horrible thing. He's killed Duncan, and he may have set up Banquo better than he's set up himself. So not only does he want Banquo taken out of the picture, he wants Fleance taken out as well. So right where we are in Act 3, Banquo's in a lot of danger, and so is his son, right? The murderers have been sent out to the woods. Macbeth knows exactly where Banquo is going to be with Fleance. He's told them that he's going for a ride in the forest. But here's where another mystery comes into play. We talked about the first mystery a while ago, which was we weren't sure what had happened or if the Macbeths had a child, if the child died, but there definitely was something in Act 2 that led everyone to believe that there was a death of some sort, or the Macbeths had a child at one point, because Lady Macbeth spoke of nursing a child. Here in Act 3, we know, because of the previous conversation, that Macbeth had hired 2 murderers. And then all of a sudden there's 3 in the woods. So who is this third mysterious murderer? There's lots have been contemplated and talked about who this third person could possibly be. But again, it's something that we never truly find out. But it is a mystery within the play, and Shakespeare does those things once in a while just to kind of get us wondering who could this third mysterious person be. So during the attack, they do end up killing Banquo, but Fleance escapes. And they know that this will not please Macbeth, because Fleance is really actually more of the bigger picture than Banquo is, according to the prophecies. So we all know that there's a big party going on at the castle, and Banquo is supposed to be the guest of honor. Everybody, all the high-ranking officials from town are supposed to be there, and emotions are extremely tense. Lady Macbeth knows that Macbeth is up to something. She's not quite sure what it is. She knows he's not thinking clearly. And just as everyone's congregating, all the guests are coming, the murderer appears at the door. Macbeth goes over to greet him and talks to him quietly. He learns that Banquo has been killed, and Macbeth's super psyched. He's really happy, but then they have to tell him that Fleance has gotten away. And this, again, just totally gets him reeling. He totally goes kind of out of his mind. And he tells them for 1 minute, he felt solid as a rock, thinking that they had both been killed. But as soon as he knew that Fleance was alive, he felt cabined, cribbed, confined, bound into saucy doubts and fears. Again, he's like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I feel as badly as I did prior to all of this happening. He demands to know if Banquo is safely taken care of. And they say that they have certainly killed him. They've put him in a ditch in the ground. Lady Macbeth at once tells Macbeth to get his act together again. She's like, come on, your guests are here. We need to be merry. Put your happy party face on. So he comes back to the table and he's acting like, merry for his guests. They can kind of see, however, that Macbeth is distraught, but this behavior is not really that unusual for Macbeth. He's not been acting like himself normally in front of these people. So this is not crazy. Lennox tells him, here, sir, there's a seat reserved for you right here. And Macbeth looks at the seat and says, which one of you has done this? In his seat, Macbeth sees the ghost of Banquo. They think he's all completely insane because he's the only one that can see this ghost. Nobody else at the dinner party can see someone in his seat. So there needs to be some crowd control, okay? Macbeth is going crazy. He says, Thou can't say that I did this. He's talking to Banquo's ghost. He's like, you can't say that I killed you. Again, he doesn't want his hands dirty. Someone else killed him. He is still trying to keep his hands clean, as he was not the one that actually plunged the actual knife into Banquo. He continues to talk to this ghost, and everyone's just staring at him, thinking he's the craziest person ever. Lady Macbeth tries to calm everyone down, and what she tells everyone in the crowd is that he's sick in the head, and he's been like this since childhood. And if you guys make a big deal about this, you're gonna make him feel really badly. So she really just literally tells him he has seizures like this all the time, and you just kind of need to leave him alone. Then she pulls him aside, and again, she goes back to the manhood thing. She goes, "Are you a man? What are you doing?" She sees him going into this kind of like delusional state again, and she reminds him that this is just a figment of his imagination. It's really similar, she tells him, to when you saw the dagger. You're overstressed. You need to calm down. You need to control your face. You need to go back and pretend that everything is okay. Macbeth is kind of astounded at this point that she is so calm when all of this is going on. He goes, maybe I'm not the crazy one, actually, and you're the crazy one. He can't understand why, when he's buried this person, he keeps coming and arising back up. So he's really confused, and Lady Macbeth isn't doing a great job calming him down. He's telling him, there is a ghost there. You need to believe me. Macbeth insists to Lady Macbeth that he saw Banquo's ghost. We talked about this previously. It's not like Macbeth has never killed before. He's killed probably hundreds of people. He was a soldier. He had to kill people. He talks about a time in his life, and this passage is really important, that when he killed, it was in an act of bravery, an act of loyalty. And when you killed someone, there was an end to it. There was a death, and you never thought about it again. But this type of killing obviously was super different for him. This killing is different because there was attachment, and the ghost or the guilt is worse than the murder itself. So now this ghost is just a manifestation of the guilt he's feeling about having his best friend killed. So finally, Lady Macbeth persuades Macbeth to return to the party. And he tells them that he has a small illness that is really nothing if you knew him. So he's again telling his guests, confessing that he's not feeling well, but this is just something he's had to deal with, and it's totally fine. So he raises a glass to Banquo, even though Banquo is missing from the party. He says, "I wish Banquo was here," and he probably really does. Like he wished that Duncan wasn't dead. And at that moment, you guessed it, the ghost of Banquo returns. Now Macbeth really loses it at this point, right? When the ghost comes back, he realizes this ghost is never going away. And it convinces him that it's going to plague him for the rest of his life. He says that there is literally nothing in life, not a rugged Russian bear, an armed rhinoceros, or a Highkern tiger, that could scare him more than this ghost does. Lady Macbeth at this point tells him, "Hey, you've ruined the party. You've misplaced the mirth. You broke the good meeting. It is over. The party is done." He tells her that it's strange for her never to fear anything. He says keeping her ruby cheeks is worse than him being so pale. He's like, you think that I'm sick? I think you're kind of sick. That I am telling you that there is a ghost in this room, and you can't have any empathy for me whatsoever. So they have to call the party off. They have to tell everyone to go home. Lady Macbeth tells everyone that Macbeth truly isn't feeling well. Everyone needs to go home. And he confesses to her that he just really doesn't know what he's going to do. He says, "It will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood." Macbeth knew that the blood would come back to plague the inventor, right? So there's all these plot points within his pros and cons speech. That pros and cons speech was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy for Macbeth. Almost everything that he said in that pros and cons speech is coming back to haunt him now. He knew that if he killed Duncan, that it would come back to haunt him in terms of the guilt that he would feel. He says that he is in it so deep at this point that he doesn't really know what he's going to do, right? He's also very suspicious of Macduff. We know what happens when Macbeth is suspicious of someone, so this is kind of scary, right? He even has a spy hidden in Macduff's castle because he thinks that Macduff is after him at this point. So what does he need to do? He says the only thing that is going to help him at this point is going back to the witches. He has to go back to the witches. He can't look back. He's like, I am in this blood so deep that it's swallowing me. So he has to know what his future looks like. If he doesn't know, he really doesn't know what's going to happen to him. Lady Macbeth knows that her husband is really paranoid, really crazy at this point, and she assures him that all he needs is a good night's rest. But what do we know? Macbeth's killed sleep, so probably that's not going to happen for him.